What's going on, guys? In this video, we're going to talk about what all do you need to sell on Facebook Marketplace for dropshipping. So this is before you even get started. Before you even get started dropshipping on Facebook Marketplace, what are the 5 requirements, the 5 things you need before you can even start dropshipping on Facebook Marketplace, so you can make sure you have everything correct, all the kind of legal stuff in order, as well as the right kind of strategy and game plan for making sure you have a successful business. Because the last thing you want to do is, waste time listing items that are not going to sell and, go down that route and just kind of spin tires. So what all do you need to sell on Facebook Marketplace for dropshipping? Let's talk about that now. Number 1 is you generally need a social security number of the United States. So if you're a citizen of the United States, then you will have a social security number, right? Or that's generally how it works. And you want to have a social security number of the United States. Now there's this other thing where you could start a business. So you could start a business, and if you start a business, the business is almost like an invisible person. So, you can hire a lawyer, or you can go to a lot of these websites where for a couple $100, they'll set up basically, you can get like an LLC. An LLC is a very popular type of business that you could start. So you could start an LLC, and when you start that LLC, it's basically the LLC is like an invisible business person. And that invisible business person, they have a EIN. The EIN is the social security number of the business. The EIN is the social security number of the business. Now, some people ask me, well, Aaron, I don't live in the United States. Can I just use an EIN instead? So this is what I can tell you guys. I have had students who have just used their EIN before and it worked. But I've also had students that use their EIN, and then after they entered their EIN number, Facebook then did ask them for their social security number. So it's like, I can't give you a definite answer on why that is or why that doesn't. My guess is it's something with their algorithm, and Facebook's always changing their stuff anyway. Now, if you don't live in the United States or you don't have a social security number, it wouldn't hurt to have an EIN. It wouldn't hurt to try it with an EIN number. I have had students use other things where, the student might live in Israel or somewhere else, and then they have a relative or a friend that lives in the United States, and they will literally use their Facebook account and use that person's social security number. And they might work out a deal with them, or listen, I'm going to use your Facebook to do everything. I'll run everything myself, and since it's your social security number, I'll give you like 20% of the profit, or something like that, right? You could, potentially work out deals like that. Now, why do you need this? Because when you start selling on Facebook, and you can go to Facebook right now and start listing items. And you start getting sales. And as soon as you get to the point where you have about $599 in sales, you'll get a little message on your Facebook Marketplace that says, in order to continue, please enter either your social security number or your EIN. And again, if you enter your EIN, they might accept it just like that. And if they do, you'll be good to go. But they also might accept it, but then also ask for your social security number afterwards. Next thing is we do need to have a Facebook account. I know it sounds pretty simple, but that is a requirement for this. Number 3, I recommend having $400 to $800 you could use to buy products. Now, this could be in cash. This could be over a couple credit cards. You might have your bank account that has, $300 in it. You might have a credit card that has $400 on it, and then you're kind of good to go. Now, the reason is Facebook holds your money for generally a couple weeks. It's basically 5 days after the order says it was delivered, then they release your money. But then even though they release your money to you, it can take a couple days for it to hit your account. And it'll come through as a PayPal transfer, by the way, just so you know. It'll show in your bank account, when they send you the money, it'll show as a PayPal deposit. Now, you don't actually need a PayPal account in order to get the money deposited. I'm not 100% sure why that is or how they do it, But it's not like you have to set up a PayPal account, or maybe say, Aaron, I had one of my PayPal accounts banned before. Will that affect it? I haven't seen that affected at all. I've had 2 of my PayPal accounts banned, and when I get the deposits from Facebook, and I actually found a way to set up 2 different Facebook accounts with my same social security number, which they say you can't do. I came up with kind of a strategy for it, and I was able to get it to work. But I don't recommend you do that because they say you're only supposed to have 1 account, but I wanted to do it just because I wanted to dropship on 2 accounts, and the goal was to make twice as much money. But both of those accounts I had set up, they didn't. It's not like PayPal verifies you or anything. Facebook basically just, I guess, has an agreement or works with PayPal in some way to get the money deposited to your account. But getting back to step number 3, is it is best to have $400 to $800 you can use to buy products, because they're going to hold your money for, let's just say, 2 weeks to be safe. Like when someone buys the item, if you log in and you sell an item and someone bought an item from you for $80, let's say, like, we can't wait for like that money to get deposited into our account. We need to have a way to buy the product and get it shipped to the customer. Now there's a ton of loopholes. You could say, oh, well, Aaron, I'll use a fake tracking number. I'll get it shown as delivered tomorrow. Then Facebook will release the money in 5 days. And then in a couple more days, it'll get deposited. I'll use that to buy the. You don't want to do that because the customer can, when the tracking number shows it's delivered on Facebook, the customer can see it. They'll be upset. It's like we don't want to be doing stuff like that. So basically, we want to have money that we can use to purchase the products before we get the money from Facebook. Facebook will basically say, you sold this item for $80. You got $80 sitting here, but it's in pending status. We're not going to release it to you for generally 2 weeks. Now you could, of course, start with less money. Like I guess if you had $100, you could start with $100, but you're really not going to make that much money, right? I mean, it's like if you're starting with only $100, it's like, I'd recommend just going and get a job or doing some freelancer work and, ideally getting $1,000, right? I mean, ideally having $1,000 so you can start to scale this, right? If we're making 10, 15, 20% roughly, could be a little bit less on our items, it's like, let's say you start with you only have $100 and you have 14 days to get paid and you're making, let's say 15% profit. You're what, gonna make $15 every 14 days? It's like, yes, you can do it, but there's also a question of like, is it worth it, right? Is it really worth it to really get it going? $400 to $800 plus is ideal. Again, just my opinion and things to think about. Just because I do it one way doesn't mean you can't do it another way. But, one of the reasons people don't make a lot of money is they're focused on like, doing super duper small stuff, right? If you guys have watched some of my videos on my YouTube channel where I take you into my Facebook account and you see in real time Facebook sending me $1,000, $1,500, over $2,000 in one day for drop shipping on Facebook Marketplace, you guys can do the math, right? I'm doing 12, 15% profit. It's, I'd rather, be making $200 to $300 a day on some days than, be making $10 every 2 weeks. Number 4, you need to have a computer and an internet connection. Now, what's great is you don't have to be in the USA to do this, right? I mean, there are people, you see them, nomad capitalists, I think they're called. They travel all over the world. They go to different countries, and they make money from their laptop. You could, in theory, of course, do that with this business. You can obviously do this in other countries. You do just need a computer and internet connection. And number 5 is, of course, a game plan. How to find hot selling products so you won't waste time listing items that won't sell. How to list your items in a way so they get lots of views and sales. How to handle returns, customer service, situations, and more. So having a game plan is important. And of course, on my YouTube channel, I got over 50 videos where I give you the best items to list, how to, and I kind of share with you a lot of these other things as well. But it is good to have a game plan so you're working smart. The last thing, I want to do, I guess, is spend a lot of time and effort doing something and not make any money. I want to make sure that the actions I'm taking are the right actions so I can see results and make money and not learn lessons.